Good evening, I'm Kathleen Mead, and this is my informative speech. I'm here this evening to talk to you about the Smithsonian Institution. I've loved the Smithsonian since the day that I walked in there when I was 13 years old. It was the National Museum of American History, and we made a beeline for the Ruby Slippers. And I was just absolutely in love. There was nothing about it that I couldn't fall completely in love with. It was popular culture, it was history, it was everything. And it was so foreign to where I grew up. I still get the same feeling when I sit down at my desk in the Smithsonian Castle and I look out onto the mall and I see the tourists running into those same museums, and they're just as excited as I was. And as far as the Smithsonian goes, I've only been there for 5 years, but I have drunk the Kool-Aid, and I'm perfectly willing at any point in time to speak at length on the Kool-Aid. The Smithsonian is the world's largest research and museum complex. We have 19 museums, 7 research facilities in the National Zoo. And we were founded in 1846 for the increase and diffusion of knowledge. James Smithson, an Englishman, left his entire fortune, which at that point was 1/66 of the entire budget of the United States. And he left it to the United States to build an institution for the increase and diffusion of knowledge. And that was what he said specifically. He said no more. Nobody knows why he gave us the money. There are speculations. He was a scientist. There is a rock named after him, Smithsonite. It's fairly rare. But it was sent to us in gold sovereigns. And when they added it up, it ended up being $500,000, which at that time was just an extraordinary sum. So increase and diffusion. So we find out the knowledge and we send it out. We learn it and we share it. That's the whole thing. Both sides of the puzzle are needed, but in the early days there was a lot of contention between the two sides. There were people who thought that having people come in and look at the research was counterproductive to the research. And there were people who thought the educational aspect should take precedence. But it's the balance that makes it work. And having it be equal parts makes, and having it be equal parts makes everything fit together. And in addition to in-house research, there is an impressive global footprint for the Smithsonian. The United Nations says that there are 193 countries in the world. And at this moment, the Smithsonian has research going on in 140 of them. And it's research on botany, archaeology, species conservation, cultural preservation, and astrophysics. And those are just a few. So that about covers the increase. Let's move on to the diffusion. In 2016, diffusion is completely digitized. There are digitization projects happening all over the Smithsonian to bring our millions of artifacts into the digital age. This ongoing digitization initiative supports our education initiatives. 3D scans are being made of a wide range of objects, from pre-Columbian statues to Yoruba headdresses to Lincoln's death mask. And once those files are uploaded, teachers all over the world can download them, print them on their 3D printers, and their children can touch Lincoln's face. And that's especially important for teachers who work in areas where they just don't have the resources to put the kids on the bus and bring them to Washington. So, the Smithsonian's Transcription Center is relatively new, and it's based on volunteers. And they have 170 years worth of letters and journals and field notes from scientists and artists and authors, and they've scanned them all. And once you get your little bit of training, you sign up and you say, okay, I volunteer to do this one. And you look at it, and sometimes it can be very difficult because handwriting has changed quite a bit over the years. I've done a couple of science ones that I can say that I didn't really enjoy that much. And a letter from Andy Warhol. That was the coolest thing I've done. And digital media has completely transformed the diffusion part of things. We have over 1 million pages of digital content from just regular websites for every museum, to blogs, to internal blogs, to newsletters. And the Smithsonian's newest educational offering is the Learning Lab, and it is fabulous. It is a place where all of these digital files of all of the currently digitized collection can be accessed. You can go on, you create an account for yourself, and you can make your own collection. So if you're interested in butterflies, you can have your own collection of butterflies. If you're a teacher, you can go on and you can make collections, and then you can create lesson plans and quizzes, and you can share them with other teachers all over the world. It's just an amazing resource to be able to touch that many things, and send them out to that many people all at once. And the people who know me best know that I'm an information girl, so that always really appeals to me. And having access to it it's pretty wonderful. And I always say that there may be 6 degrees of separation in the rest of the world, but there's only 2 in the Smithsonian. And I may never need it, but in 2 phone calls, I can find you someone who can fix a spaceship, translate a document out of Hindi, or teach you the scientific aspects of Mongolian throat singing. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So the breadth of the knowledge of my colleagues is only surpassed by their generosity in sharing it. And there are places in the Smithsonian where at 7 o'clock in the morning, people are singing as they're walking in the building because they're absolutely living the dream. This is their life's work, and it shows in everything that they do. So I believe that James Smithson would be astonished and proud at the way the Smithsonian brings his vision to life, not just in Washington, but all around the world. That's it.
So much for job.
Yes, I never wanted to interrupt and ask questions.
No, that's not this.
Right.
I was